fit?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Welcome to the second half, and I hope you enjoyed the first round. We have an even more exciting one. Second round, we're going to have just as good performances as in the first one. But before we start with the second round, I'd like to dedicate a bit of time for the second purpose of this concert, which is the good cause. And in this case, it's the German Bone Marrow Transplant Association. I'd like to explain to you what a bone marrow transplant is, how it's done, why it's done, and how it helps people. I have 4 questions for you. I can't see you. Can I have some light to see the audience? That would be pretty good, because I'd like to raise your I'd like you to raise your hand if you can answer this question with a yes. First one. Who has heard or knows what a bone marrow transplant is? All right, that's about 30, 40 people out of 300, so it's 10%. Second question, who has already registered as a potential bone marrow donor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? 15 people. We need to get up that number. If I'm successful with that, then this night was another success on that front. Third question, who has already donated bone marrow? Really? Oh, of course. We have a person from the DKMS who was helping out the German Bone Marrow Transplant Association by providing information at the stand outside. I'd like to ask you also to, after the concert, to go there and talk to him if you have any questions. He's just for today. He is here and he has already donated bone marrow. He can tell you everything about his experience, as well as because I'm also I actually received bone marrow. So I can tell something about the patient's perspective, donor perspective. You have both here. So was anybody a patient? Now that's really interesting. Nobody. I'm the only one. Okay, so this is going to be really interesting for you. What is leukemia? Another word for it is blood cancer. So I was diagnosed with this disease 2005, summer 2005. I was 15 years. We lived in Beijing, my parents and my siblings. And we came to Berlin for vacation over the summer, and we made a regular checkup, and they took some blood samples, and they found something weird. So they decided to make more tests and basically diagnosed me then with acute myeloid leukemia. So we had to stay in Berlin. That was 180 degrees in my life. We had to stay in Berlin, and I had to start with therapy. And I'm now going to try to explain to you what leukemia actually is in the body. So here we have a bone. Inside the bone you have the marrow. And the marrow produces blood. And in the blood has 3 components: red blood cells, which carry oxygen; white blood cells, immune system; platelets, they're responsible for clotting your wounds so that you stop bleeding. So these 3 components are made by the bone. And these 3 cells have a precursor cell, the myeloid stem cell or the lymphoid stem cell. Now, in my case, the myeloid stem cells mutated into a cancer cell. That means that it has 2 new characteristics. It never dies, and it divides really, really fast. And what it does, it pushes the production of all these cells down here to the side. So what can you expect if you don't have so many white blood cells? Your immune system is weak. You get sick very often. What happens if you don't have red blood cells? No oxygen transport. So you're pale, you're tired, you sleep all the time. The third one is the thrombocytes or platelets. So your wounds don't heal so fast, your wounds don't seal so fast. Those are the 3 things that happen to you, the main symptoms. In my case, the thrombocytes declined rapidly, so I was getting a lot of blue bruises although I didn't really touch anything very hard. I didn't have physical contact with anything, so that was the only thing that was mysterious to me. So, but I was feeling good, and I was diagnosed very early. That was good. So what does a chemotherapy do? A chemotherapy attacks cancer cells. It's a medication that is designed to attack fast-dividing cells. That's one type of chemotherapy. But it also destroys healthy cells. So it is administered in blocks. So you have one block of 1 week, and then 2 to 3 weeks of recuperation period. Now, the goal is that the recuperation of the bone marrow is faster than the cancer cells. Let me give you an example. So you have a diagnosis of leukemia. In my case, it was 30% cancer cells, which is actually pretty low. After the first treatment, you have 10% cancer cells, but your bone marrow is also very weak. So within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you recuperate. Your bone marrow gets stronger again. And by the time it has fully recuperated, you're back to 15% cancer cells. But that's still half of what we had in the beginning. So you reduced the number of cancer cells by half in one block. It varies, depending on the medication, the patient, and the disease. By repeating this loop, you slowly get the cancer down until you don't find anything under the microscope anymore. That is the goal. Now, I was diagnosed in June 2005, and I had treatment until December 2005, half a year. In January until December, so the whole of 2006, I was doing my back in school, 10th grade, and I started with the IB program in 2007. But then I was again diagnosed, re-diagnosed. Leukemia had come back, so I had not, what's the word? Defeated it, yeah. So what they did was another round of chemotherapy plus a bone marrow transplant. So cancer cells tend to get immune against chemotherapy. So if you fail in the first round, it's really hard to actually get cured by chemotherapy. So the next approach is bone marrow transplants. It's a wonder, actually. It's really, really effective. Why do I have wanted immune reactions double? That shouldn't be in the slides. Oh, it doesn't matter. So it has one big advantage. The donor that gives you the new bone marrow has a slight different configuration. I say the proteins in the membrane of the white blood cells is slightly different. So that causes immune reactions, and that is wanted. It's called the graft versus host disease. And what it does, the new bone marrow enters your bloodstream, goes into the bones, and says, this is now my bone marrow. I want it. You're old, get out, or basically it kills it. But good as well as bad cells. So this is wanted. You can actually target cancer cells very, very effectively with this. And that's why the healing rate with bone marrow transplant is so high. I mean, let's say if you survive the therapy, you're almost as good to go. But getting through the therapy is a bit of a problem. You have in my case, I was isolated for 5 months in a room. So imagine being in a room that is about the size of this stage for 5 months, never leaving it once, totally isolated. Everybody who comes in wears gloves, some mouth protection, and some suits, and they have to use a lot of disinfection spray because you don't have an immune system. You don't have white blood cells at that moment. So this is a short video I made during my stay in the hospital to just show you a bit. I mean, this is I wasn't planning to show this to you, so this is just what I did. I hope it plays. And there we have it. This is my brother. Actually, we're playing darts in the room. So it's a quite small room. It was raining on that day. I didn't have any better footage. Sorry, this is Berlin. Berlin weather. Well, it wasn't a big change to move to Bremen, I guess. My mother. So I got a lot of visit of my parents. Very important. Family support, really, really important. My brother was kind of bored. And also visits from friends, and also great support. So you see, friend and family support is really, really important in this period of time. Without them, would be really hard to get through this. I don't know how people do it without, but it was really important for me, I guess. And also, of course, some every day is different. This was an ultrasound check of the bladder, and every second day I was getting blood because I couldn't produce blood, so they had to give me blood donations. So go give some blood. Good thing. It helped me, and a lot of support from my friends. And this was the person that actually gave me the bone marrow, my sister. You see, it's the chance of a sibling being the perfect match is 1/4. So in this case, I was really, really lucky. My piano to forte, this was the hardest moment in all of this period. You see, they had given me this monoclonal antibody. This was new stuff, and it actually is banned now from Europe and the US since 2008 and 10, respectively. It's called Mylotarg. It was like an antibody from the soil of Texas. Has some. Anyways, they had never tested it on kids, only on old people, and they didn't know the effects. So they said, "This is the only chance. Sorry, we don't have any other weapons. Let's try that." It did its job, but it did it so well that basically my kidneys failed, and I gained 20 kilos of water in my tissue. So I was basically blown up like a Michelin, this white guy with all the tires. Yeah, and was intensive care, heavily seduced. I don't remember any of this. It's like no pain at all associated with this, but this is what my parents tell me because they were there and they were suffering. My forte was the 17th birthday. That's the first memory after this. So I got my transplant on the 7th. Shortly after that, I felt really bad and gained a lot of weight. And on the 17th birthday, that's the first moment I know the thing I noticed. I remember after that, and I remember this being very emotional. I mean, imagine, hi, I made it to my 17th birthday, great. And yeah, it was a little miracle because the doctors didn't actually expect me to come back, and they were quite amazed to see me back. So there was a lot of help from somewhere, I guess. Funny story to this, actually, while I was in the intensive care station, how I got back. So they had this dialysis machine, so they were filtering out the blood to get the water out, right? So the dialysis machine breaks, great. And they don't have a replacement because all the other machines don't fit into the tubes. And the guy who can repair it is on holidays, great. So I'm stuck there, gaining weight, and nobody's around to fix the machine. And that moment, the kidneys start working again. Just in that moment, that's what my parents tell me. So that was intense. And back to life. After 200 days, you say that bone marrow has reached a maturity level that allows you to go out onto the streets, meet people, confront diseases. It's like small flus or something that you wouldn't notice. But for me, it was a big thing. I have to actually relearn everything from scratch. I had all the child diseases that you get once in your life. I had to go through that again. I basically have a 3-year-old immune system right now. Also, fun fact, I changed my blood type. I was B positive, my sister is AB positive, now I'm AB positive. And I have female DNA in my blood. That means if I make a crime, leave some blood traces, they're not gonna look for a man. So after about 200 days, I got back to school, I finished the IB program, applied to the Jacobs University and got in.